Stage 1 is a very innocent beginning for the future Hunter main as they select the cape-wearing Guardian from the character creation screen for the first time. Maybe they were attracted to the Hunter being portrayed as that agile, daring, and stealthy character, or perhaps they just liked the awesome knife-spinning animation that totally exists in the actual game. As they progress through the starting missions, they learn what it means to be a hunter as the game teaches them how to dodge for the first time, a move that will become a defining aspect of their hunter journey, especially during some of the future stages. Although they have no idea that the slide button exists, and stuff like heroic public events, capping zones in control, and armor mods are completely foreign concepts, they quickly fall in love with the hunter's movement and basic toolkit, which most definitely involves the jump. Bro, this is awesome. Why would I simply walk when I can fling myself through the air instead? As the Hunter main gets just a little bit of experience under their belt, they begin to explore more of what the class has to offer. Crow describes the learning process of Stage 2 Hunter mains quite perfectly.
What do they teach you in the city?
Mostly point, shoot, and jump.
It's quite rare to see these hunters ever land on the ground for more than half a second, and they're mostly seen flying through the air, blasting their opponents with whatever weapon they acquired from their most recent quest. As they get a taste of what it's like to be a hunter main, something about the intuitive movement, lethal abilities, and crafty nature of the hunter is just extremely attractive. They explore different aspects of the game as they level up their power through activities like story missions, strikes, crucible, and maybe even gambit, and they start to develop some very naive opinions about their weapons and abilities. So this grenade automatically blows up when people get near. Let me just place it on the ground and it'll work great. This super is crazy in PvE. I can't wait to try it out in the Crucible. Dude, this gun has insane tracking. It must be super OP and... oh sh**. During this stage, the Hunter main has yet to really discover any meta loadouts or tactics, so they just kind of have fun messing around with the most random stuff that they happen to get. Even as they start to unlock some new gear and exotics, they're extremely prone to making the most classic hunter mistakes. They miss their Celestial Nighthawk shots, they use their jump to hurl themselves into no man's land in PvP, they're extremely bad at jumping puzzles and often miscalculate their jumps, and they're so scared to use their super in PvP that they often take it right back to orbit, especially if they're brave enough to attempt Trials of Osiris. Although these mistakes are often pretty funny, this can be a somewhat frustrating stage for the Hunter main, and it inspires many to progress to Stage 3. At this point, the Hunter main has grown a little tired of being called a clueless blueberry, so they decide to figure out what it truly means to be a hunter. They invest a bit of time into unlocking better gear and weapons, and as they become more comfortable with the class, they start to display some of the defining characteristics of a Hunter main. I took 1 damage? Time to dodge. I got a kill? Oh, don't forget to dodge. Do I need my melee recharged? Oh yes, dodge. Reload? Dodge. Oh, there's more than one enemy? Definitely dodge. I just spawned in? Dodge, why not? It doesn't matter what's happening. If the dodge is off cooldown, it simply must be used and there's no two ways about it. Now you might think that you want to touch the ground while firing, but you actually don't.
Okay.
If you're not constantly jumping way up there and using an Icarus mod, you're just not a true hunter main.
I see, so if I just jump, they'll never see me coming.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Hunter mains in this stage just want to learn so that they can be a little bit more successful and eventually get into some of the more challenging endgame content. They make their first somewhat cohesive builds and they usually fall in love with a certain ability, whether it's a throwing knife, the void wombo combo, invisibility spamming, or even that stasis dive ability that shall not be named. However, eventually the Hunter toolkit disappoints them in some way and they get humbled by the sheer power of a Titan or Warlock. At some point, the Hunter main inevitably encounters this stage and they just become extremely salty about something another class has and they don't. Whether it's Top Tree Dawnblade literally killing them from outer space, or a Titan just slapping them to death after lunging halfway across the map, the Hunter main has had enough. They start to make excuses for literally everything that goes wrong, and refuse to accept responsibility for their own mistakes.
What are you doing?
Yeah, my controller ran out of batteries. Where are my teammates? Why am I in a 1v6? Hey, Bungie, I need to report a cheater. Bro, fix the lag. Defying all reason, many hunters in this stage develop the mindset that Bungie just hates hunters and they'll take any opportunity to complain that Bungie keeps nerfing hunters and buffing other classes. At a certain point, they've just had enough of warlocks camping in their rifts and titans sitting behind their shields, so they decide it's time. It's finally time to take a break from the hunter. However, it doesn't take them long to realize their mistake. Bro, why is this so slow? This jump is awful. Why is the animation so long? Bro, why can't I dodge?
Bro, Were you teabagging me?
No, I would just...
2 seconds later.
The Hunter main actually learns a lot from the experience of using another class, but sooner or later, they return home to their usual dodge spamming self. And in that moment, everything feels right in the Destiny universe. Upon returning to their class, the Hunter main feels a renewed sense of purpose as they get down to crafting some insane Hunter builds for their favorite PvP and PvE activities. Websites like Destiny Item Manager, D2 Gunsmith, and LightGG become their best friends as they dive into learning all the ins and outs of weapons, subclasses, and perks, a task that felt very daunting during the earlier stages. They become obsessed with min-maxing their armor stats, unlocking all the best exotics and perks, and creating synergy between the different parts of their loadout. They often watch guides on YouTube or join a Discord server to get helpful tips from more advanced hunters and to group up with other players. A lot of experimentation usually goes on during this stage, but they often reach some typical conclusions about optimal builds, especially if they have their opinions influenced by friends or YouTube videos. Some may even make the mistake of using something they're not really comfortable with just because someone else said it was good. The Hunter main becomes significantly more powerful during this stage, and they develop some truly potent builds that allow them to see success in endgame contents like Grandmaster Nightfalls and Trials, but eventually they reach a realization that leads them to stage 6. The Hunter main becomes unbelievably obsessed with their appearance and fashion, and even though they still care about their build, they now believe that fashion is the genuine Destiny 2 endgame content. This stage invariably requires spending hours on the transmog screen to figure out what looks best before spending those precious materials, and it can also involve copious amounts of Eververse transactions for both weapon and armor ornaments. Now you might think that the fashion stage is very complicated because there are hundreds of shaders and armor pieces to choose from, but for the Hunter main, this is a very simple stage because there's actually only one option: a completely black outfit, usually featuring one of the good-looking exotics like Stompies. Okay, maybe there's more than one option, but still, the generic Hunter fashion is a phenomenon that cannot be ignored. A Hunter main in the fashion stage just cannot bring themselves to sacrifice their style for any reason, and unfortunately that can severely limit what exotics they're willing to use. Dragon's Shadow is amazing, but unfortunately it's just off the table until it gets a decent looking ornament that properly changes colors with shaders. Male Guardians may also realize that their character model is just slightly more chonky in-game, and so a surprising amount of them will just immediately delete their male hunter to choose female. So now that they're decked out in the most typical, edgy set of armor they can find, the Hunter main is ready to progress to stage 7. The Hunter main becomes dedicated to their class, and during this stage, the mere thought of maining one of those obese, cran-eating titans or silly dress-wearing warlocks just seems preposterous. The Hunter main probably believes that hunters are the best class in the game at this point, and they fully embrace their toolkit and use it to its maximum potential. They learn how to do a bunch of random things that set them apart from average Hunter mains. Stuff like shooting the trip mines out of the air to surprise their PvP opponents, not using their tether too early against Taken and having it get deleted, sliding while popping their golden gun to maintain momentum, canceling their throwing knife by pressing the super button during the animation, correctly jump swiping with spectral blades, using Shadow Dive purely as a movement ability, and they finally come to the realization that holding the jump button down after jumping actually increases the jump's height. At this point, the Hunter main usually falls in love with a certain subclass or subclass tree, and they do everything they can to maximize its potential, whether they're in raids or Trials of Osiris. The Hunter main is a pretty good player at this point, and they're able to top frag and complete raids and dungeons pretty easily, but some develop the desire to truly become the best hunter they can possibly be. Playing against a hunter who's in the tryhard stage is perhaps one of the most dreaded things in all of Destiny 2. Hunters in this stage are driven to gain every advantage, and they will go to extreme lengths to be as obnoxious and difficult to defeat as possible. Much to the chagrin of their physician, the Hunter main becomes obsessed with constantly slamming their head against the ceiling in order to travel around at the speed of light. And especially when it comes to PvP, they love to rapidly crouch in order to make their head bob up and down to be harder to hit. They might even take it to the next level and adopt this advanced technique from Mtashed.
And if you bob your head in real life as well, you're going to really notice the benefit here.
After mastering such advanced tactics, the Hunter main might develop an extreme ego, and they will probably adopt what Fallout has dubbed the golden rule of online gaming. They think anyone who they beat is dog water, and anyone who beats them needs to touch grass. In this stage, the Hunter main will probably make excuses for their mistakes just like they did in the Annoyance stage, and they will only use the most meta weapons. There have been a number of crazy options throughout the ages, but whether it was the infamous Mountaintop and Recluse, Anarchy, Whisper, Beloved, Shadow Dive, Deadman's, or Fellwinters, hunters in this stage exclusively use the most busted things they can get their hands on and bulldoze their way through every PvP and PvE activity. Unfortunately, this level of tryhard attitude can sometimes lead hunter mains to become rather toxic, and it can truly be an awful experience to play with or against this type of player. Fortunately though, most hunters move beyond this stage before too long. The hunter main takes a step back and they really look at their behavior in the previous stage. They might have been really powerful while crutching the meta, but they realize there is more to the game than simply abusing the same 2 guns and abilities for months on end. They decide that they're ready for something different, but not anything so extreme as switching classes again, because they've already done that and decided to be a hunter main. So instead, they equip something other than a hand cannon and a shotgun, and they make the mind-blowing discovery that there are in fact 32 exotics in the game, other than the Stompies, Dragon Shadow, or whatever other exotic they were using in the tryhard stage. As they try out new things, the hunter main actually has a ton of fun with this stage, because they're able to use a variety of loadouts at a relatively high level, and they discover a newfound sense of appreciation for exploring off-meta loadouts that are surprisingly viable in both PvP and PvE. They might even find a new loadout that is so fun or so effective that it becomes their new favorite setup that defines their playstyle. They enjoy standing out from everyone else who is sweating with the meta, and they might even develop a unique playstyle that really suits them well. The few hunter mains who reach the adept stage are truly a wonder to behold. After months or probably years of playing, they become a mix of all the previous stages, and they have a lot of fun running meme loadouts, sometimes still abusing the meta, and showing off their glorious hunter fashion, all while completing endgame activities and just generally enjoying the game. Some may even Sherpa newer hunters through activities and find a lot of satisfaction in seeing their reactions and teaching them what it means to be a hunter main. Now that you've experienced the journey of the hunter main, I highly recommend checking out the 10 stages of every Destiny 2 player, and that video is on screen now. If you enjoyed this video, the best way to support it is to leave a like. I also have a Patreon where members receive cool benefits like bonus content and early access to all my videos, so check it out in the video description.